So I suppose the next part is who's doing what, when, how, all that bit. So who's organising the harvesting? Are you doing it yourself? Are you getting a company to harvest for you? Are you selling directly to the sawmill? Who's doing the measurement? So you need to measure it. If you can't quantify it, you can't sell it. Or certainly you can't sell it at the right price. It's important to know what you have in your hands, or in this case, in your woods. You need to understand who's responsible for on-site work, the drainage repair after maybe taking out the timber, the urea application, who abides by the health and safety issues. This is very important, and you know yourselves, this issue of health and safety is becoming more and more important. So, is it you, is it the contractor, is it the company? You should clarify it in the contract as to who is responsible. So, most of you are familiar with the expression, I've got your back. You don't want this in health and safety. When somebody says, I've got your back, you want somebody that you're sure that they have your back properly, not this version of it. And it's important to protect yourselves. And of course, the big question, I think we heard it at the start, when will I get paid? You know, because it is essentially about the money. You are growing a crop. And that leads us to what deal suits me best. So there are different options available. There's different sale methods. So you could sell it standing. You could sell it roadside. You could sell it into the sawmill. Again, it will depend on what you want and how much you want to be involved or how much you want to pay somebody to be to do the work for you. The next question is the contract adequate for my needs? Does it cover health and safety? Does it cover price? Does it cover schedules? The Irish timber growers have a master forestry contract. It's very good. I know the IFA have a contract system as well. It's important to understand what are your duties and what are the duties of the person you're employing or you're having coming into your forest. When will I get paid? The perennial question. Certainly, as the crop gets more valuable and it starts approaching second, third clear fell stage, you should be looking at seeking a deposit before the timber starts to get cut. You should be looking for an interim payment, and you should be looking for a final payment, rather than waiting for a big fat check at the end of everything. You know, it's not a system. If you go for that system, I think it's going to leave you quite exposed. Maybe you'll be all right, but if you're not, what happens? Timber tracking system. How are you going to track how much timber goes out of your woods? It could be as simple as controlling the gate. Somebody rings you when they're coming with a timber lorry, you open the gate. It could be something as simple as a picture on an iPhone. Somebody takes a picture and sends of the weight slip when it goes over inside in the sawmill. You know, there's different ways. It doesn't have to be some GPS, Bluetooth, high technology satellite. It just needs to be something that you can reconcile what left your place and what arrived at the sawmill. And then what insurance is in place. Again, it is important to understand there's heavy equipment out there. Accidents rarely happen, but they can. It needs to be understood whose role is whose and who's responsible. Just getting back to the sales system previously, you know, you can have single price per ton standing. You can sell it by assortment, pulp, pallet, whatever. You can have a fee per ton basis, or you can have, say, a percentage of the net profit from the timber sales. All of these are different methods. All of them might suit different people. But it's important, first of all, to know what are you selling. So, what affects your timber price? Lots of things. This is a straight answer. So, good management should ensure a good price. Poor management will definitely ensure a poor price. So, the more management, more effort you put into it, the more you're going to make out of it. Now, why wouldn't it reach the full value? There could be different reasons. Maybe poor sales system. Maybe poor tinning quality. Maybe it's been over-tinned already. Maybe not correctly weighed. Maybe there's a lot of residual timber inside the woodland. I suppose the thing that exercises most private owners would be the incorrect weighing or the excessive drying. It depends on the climate, depends on the season. You could have a dry summer last year, you're going to lose moisture. You could have a wet summer this year, hopefully not. But there's different things. What's the species? How's it handled? The number one reason why the volume mightn't match the weight and, of course, your expectations is time since felling. Essentially, when you cut it, a ton of timber is worth about a cubic metre. There's a little bit of variation. But the moment you cut it, it's starting to lose weight. It's still retaining the volume of 1 cubic metre, but the weight is actually going down. If you're getting paid by weight, well, what we would recommend is you need to minimise the delay between felling the trees and weighing it. Our recommendation would be timber should be removed and weighed within 15 days of felling. The other thing I would say is measurement by weight. It's really only accurate if the owner or his or her representatives have control over the time period between cutting the trees and having them go to the mill for weighing. So if you're getting paid by volume, it can stay there for the next 6 months. But if you're getting paid by weight, it hits the ground, it bounces once, it's up into the trailer, and off you go. You've one chance to get it right. So, very atmospheric. And that's maximising the revenue. You need to get advice. There's advice from Teagasc, there's advice from other companies. In Teagasc's cases, it's free, independent, objective advice. You need to protect yourself, your crop, your asset. It's worth money to you. You need to get references. Ask somebody, have they done work before? Get a number of quotes. Don't go with the first offer that you get. The manner of payment, like I said, should be deposit, interim payment, final payment. Have a written contract. It doesn't have to be that large, a contract itself, but it needs to be simple, that you can see what's happening. It needs to be fair to both people, or both bodies. It needs to be explicit, and it needs to be enforceable. There's no point in having a contract that you're not actually going to be enforced if something doesn't go wrong. But I can't emphasize enough, if you're selling timber, you should have a written contract. Like I said, health and safety should be identified. The crop should be supervised when it's tinned, either you or your representative. And it is important to know the taxation implications. You should be aware of these before the trees come down, not afterwards. Effective tax planning requires planning, which means it requires time.